No Man's Sky. So here it is, finally out after countless delays, PR nonsense, backstabbing, apparently going all the way to even death threats, and everything else Jim Sterling lists here.
This is the game after much anticipation, much hype, much waiting, much controversy, many death threats even, delays and street date breakages and arguments about reviews and questions over whether the game's only 30 hours long and just all of that bullshit, and this is what it comes down to. A big dinosaur squirrel.
Speaking of Jim's video, well no, let's get the intro out of the way first. So yeah, after all that, it's finally out and the world finally gets to see what exactly No Man's Sky is, as there were no review copies sent out. Game sites and shops were apparently being monitored, as even though they get it a week early, they could not really let slip what it was on their own sites, nor give out a few copies to very select reviewers a few days early, so nobody knew. But regardless, as I said, I'm playing it and we finally get to see what it is about. And it's about space exploration, resource management, and overall pulling a bit of a Spore / Mario Galaxy and trying to get to Bowser's Castle at the centre of the universe. Which you might think is an exaggeration, but trust me, it's not. We will come back to that later, as you're only just starting out and you've got a long way to go. Well, about 30 hours to go. Now, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. Yes, it's a ridiculous amount of planets, but it has the same problem as Starbound. That being, there is only like 20 or 30 different planets with a handful of different biomes, with the same few structures on for quests and a few randomly generated animals to try and make the planets feel alive. However, unlike Starbound, there is no sentient life at all. That much I have pretty much confirmed. I mean, I've been to about 15 planets so far, trying to make sure that I'm not missing anything, and from what I can see, I'm not. There is very, very little sentient life. You might find a random dude out in a field, or you'll run into a few trading posts, but even then, they're very limited. Keep that Starbound analogy in mind as well, as I'm going to come back to it at the end, as it leads into this vicious cycle, which I think is where all the negativity from this game is coming from. But for now, let's get into all the little details. And now we're going to go back to Jim Sterling's video. This was the first footage I'd ever seen of the game. And as I watched it and was looking at the 3 planets he visited, I thought Jim's video must have fucked up during rendering, or his recorder screwed up, as this looks kinda bad. Like, the colours really bugged out if we compare it to Starbound, or my Starbound episode for example. You'll see how the colours are really sharp and pronounced. But going back to Jim's video, here they look really murky, like they've put some kind of filter over it. This can't be right. Turns out, it is right. What you see in Jim's video, and now in my video here, is what you get. Like, here I am on a dark grey planet with some glowing red. Why does it look like the glowing red is really blurry? Like it's got some sort of strange filter on it. You can write it off as alien magic, but it makes all the planets really displeasing to look at. And as for the base graphics themselves, for all the delays, this game still looks pretty bad. We're talking early Xbox 360, PS3 graphics. As you can see here, I'll even slow it down so you can get a good look at it. All of the ground textures are blurry as all balls. All the environmental things like the plants and the rocks are very asset store-like. Don't get me wrong, it's clear that they made all of the assets themselves, but nothing has any weight or impact on the world. Like, a tree is not a tree for the sake of it growing out of the ground for the animals to eat its fruits. It's a tree for the sake of, this is where the random number generator randomly placed this random asset on this random world. And it really pulls down the game, as every world feels dead and video gamey, if you understand. Like, take a few games for example, like My World. My World has 5 realms: the Artisans, Peacekeepers, Magic Crafters, Beastmakers, Dreamweavers. Each realm is filled with vibrance and life and lore, like how the Peacekeepers are trained soldiers to maintain order in the Dragon Kingdom, or how the Beastmakers, despite their primitive looks, create countless creatures like the fat chickens, which are only there to be food for the dragons. And the Beastmakers have a gay dragon. You know which one I mean. Insomniac even confirmed that he was gay. Or in Jak and Daxter, how in the old times there was these great precursors that bent the very life force of the planet to their will and created the vast citadels like Gollum Maya's citadel and the monoliths like the Precursor Basin before mysteriously vanishing, with even the Sage of Nature who spoke to the rocks, saying that even the rocks, an ageless entity, do not remember the great precursors. And as you progress north towards Maya and that sexy metal armor she wears, you learn more and more about the world and how Dark Eco can not only destroy, but as with Maya and Daxter and other rare occasions, those who are strong enough won't die, but will become twisted, corrupted, or transformed, even implying that the lurkers were once people that have become twisted by the Dark Eco. Both of these feel like real, breathing, lived-in worlds that have existed since ancient times, and across the ages, inhabitants have adapted and changed to the world around them. Whereas here in No Man's Sky, every planet is, here's a rock, here's a few other randomly placed assets, one random Johnny over there, and that's it. You know, you can explore, and it's not like any of these worlds have any kind of ancient stuff in them, really, unlike something like Jak and Daxter with the Precursor Ruins. Also, a shame they only ever made one Jak and Daxter. That was an awesome game. I just wish I could have found out what was behind that door at the end. Like, I know it opens and reveals this giant shining light, but we never got to find out what that light was. Spyro, there really is ancient power and lore here. Really? Again, this alludes to the story that I'll come back to at the end. For now, we will just wrap up the graphics and move on to all the other stuff. So, yeah, the graphics are not all that great and feel very dated, like something from early 360, making it hard to look at. The enemies and creatures are the only real point of note, but even then they don't look that good. And lastly, the assets don't really sway in the wind or move or anything. They are just assets that the planet has randomly generated for you, and it all feels very my first building tool, if you will. As when mining any resource, it has no weight or gravity. Here is Jim having a nice slow go at this rock, for example, and as you can see, blasting bits of the rock away, nothing really shatters or has any kind of gravity. It just pops out of existence and the remnants remain floating in the air. Oh dear. Moving on to music, there is none really. It's more just ambient noises, which is sometimes fine depending on the situation. Think of it like Minecraft. If you're in a mine, you don't really want any music playing as you have to listen for monster noises. You know, there might be a spawner nearby, so you have to be ready for a big fight, so you want to know where the horde of groans is coming from. Or if you're in a shaft, cave spiders from poison you, you don't want them to poison you, so you want to hear where the squeaking is to know where they're coming from. But once you get back to the surface, you still keep the ambient noises like the cows and the chickens and stuff, but you have some gentle, relaxing overworld music while you're building your house. So it's fine for full-on ambience sometimes, but other times you need some music. And here, there is next to no music. So get that iPod out, as you're going to need to listen to a lot of podcasts to get to the center of the galaxy. As for the gameplay itself, it's really, 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 really boring. It's very, very heavy in resource management, and that's about it. The main gist of it is go to a planet, get resources, get in ship, shoot asteroids for some fuel crystals, take to trading center, sell resources for money, use money to get better ship and backpack to hold more stuff, rinse and repeat till you get to the center of the universe. And let me tell you, on your first planet, you better get tons and tons of shit to get at least a class 2 ship and backpack right away, as if not, you're going to be running into inventory problems within the first few hours. But that's really it. There's no other real progression line. I want to again come back to why in the end section, but the basic gist: get shit, sell shit, get bigger inventory, rinse and repeat for about 20 to 30 hours. Again, hold your horses, I'm coming back to the time thing. So yeah, the gameplay is rather dull, but it has other sections, Spyro. It has the space combat. Oh, you mean the worst part of the fucking game? Okay, but it has ocean planets where you go scuba diving. You mean like Pyrocynical's game that he played that one time?
These more serious tone videos are great because I get to express my opinion on a trending topic, and definitely in no way is this solely because of the YouTube revenue I may or may not get from making such a video. But seriously though, a lot of you have requested...
Alright, it has a mining laser thing. You mean like the matter manipulator from Starbound? Alright, it has randomly, procedurally generated planets and galaxies, like Minecraft's randomly, procedurally generated world. And herein lies every problem with No Man's Sky. It wanted to be everything, which you just can't do. The more you spread your game out, the less people you will entertain. It wanted to be Minecraft with procedurally generated worlds. It wanted to be Starbound, but in 3D where you're going on an adventure around the universe. It wanted to be Star Wars with space battles. It wanted to be Don't Starve or any other survival game in which resource management is key, so your suit doesn't run out of batteries or whatever and you die. It wanted to be Pyrocynical's ocean game with the scuba diving planets. It wanted to be everything but itself. And that's where the all-important time factor comes in. You can have the biggest universe on the market, but you need to make that universe feel alive. The fact that you try to do all of this stuff, you miss the key element, that being sentient life. As I come to the end of this review, I've gone to 50, probably even more, probably like 55, 56 different planets. Most of them are very samey, and I only spent 10 to 20 minutes on each of the later planets, and that's getting less and less, as there is nothing, no sentient alien villages full of life, or anything. Every planet feels barren and dead, barring a bit of wildlife. By the end of this, all I want to do is go onto a planet, get my resources, and move on, not caring a single shred about sightseeing. If you really were invested in seeing all the sights and going to every planet in the universe, yeah, there's thousands of hours of play there, but only about 100 hours of content at most due to its restrictions. And as I say, unlike Starbound, there is nothing to dive deeper into planets for, because you have no upgrade trees. Like in Starbound, you're always looking for the next level of ore to upgrade your armor, to upgrade your weapons, to upgrade your workbenches, to upgrade your ship, to upgrade your houses. You're always going into planets to get more stuff. Here, it's just pretty much your gun, your backpack and your ship. There's 3 upgrades. There's a few other things, but it's not as in-depth as Starbound. So you'll be gathering resources mainly only to jump from planet to planet. And yeah, in Starbound, sure, I've mostly seen everything at this point. Every planet is now kind of the same. But every time I want to upgrade Homeworld, get a new weapon, or even find something cool like the bee suit I'm looking for. The bee suit is only in giant flower biomes, which are only on forest planets. And while there's nothing else I need on that forest planet, I'm going to it anyway, just in case it has a giant flower biome and the 2 other pieces of the bee suit I want. It's pushing me to explore for something I want. Whereas here, it's the same old resources of iron and plutonium over and over and over and over. So all you want to do is land, get whatever you need, then leave, hoping that that will be enough to get to the center of the universe. And from my play, yeah, if you are literally just going to go down, get resources, then leave, then you're going to get to the center of the universe in around 30 to 40 hours. As I stated, I've done about 55 to 60 planets now, and as I'm at the end of the review, I can see the center of the universe. I would say another 5-10 planets, and I'm there, unless the final jump from post-center to the actual center takes a stupid amount of fuel. And what is your reward for getting to the center of the universe? Pretty much nothing. No Man's Sky is going for one of them. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey scenarios. Well, guess what, No Man's Sky? The journey was about as comfortable as riding the London Underground, and the destination was little more than a back alley pub with Sleazy McGee the bartender telling me a shit ending. I won't spoil the end. All I will say is that across your adventure, you will have been killing robots called Sentinels, and all of those space battles, you will be fighting Sentinel ships. Again, I won't spoil what the ending is, but let's just say that they are all coming from the center of the universe. I've heard the creators are begrudgingly going to add a story to the game because everyone complained. I mean, considering it's a $60 game, they do have a bit of a right to complain. I mean, bloody hell, Starbound's only £15, $20, and that has a full in-depth story. Which brings us to the final verdict, and my final verdict for No Man's Sky is a very overpriced and disappointing 2 out of 5. There are many analogies we could give to this game. Having one's cake and eating it, the Minecraft hate train, that is how Minecraft started the whole thing. Then Terraria came along and it was just Minecraft in 2D, but did enough stuff different, like adding bosses and weapons beyond the diamond tier to get away with it. Then Starbound added to that by being Terraria but in space, but again doing enough stuff different to get away with it. And then No Man's Sky wanting to add to that, being Starbound but just in 3D, but did not get away with it. However, I think the best analogy we can give to this game is a jack of all trades, but a master of none. As with the saying, it has everything going on, but it masters nothing. And as you play through the game, you see everything it's trying to ape with no success of its predecessors. I said this in Metroid Prime Blast Ball. and about Five Nights at Freddy's clones. Aping someone else will never work out, as the creator had their vision that they made real. Scott made FNAF in the vision he saw in his head, and no one can copy him, as they are not in his head and they do not see his vision. So all the shitty clones that come out, of which there are now countless, fail to be as good as Scott's version, as they were just mimicking without understanding, speaking without talking, hearing without listening. And that is what No Man's Sky is doing, mimicking without understanding what made its counterparts so great. It wants to be a procedurally generated world like Minecraft, forgetting Minecraft had village building and other mining aspects beyond what No Man's Sky offers. It wants to be Starbound, forgetting that Starbound had different races that had villages and temples and all sorts of things on the planets. Has extra rewards on the planets. It makes you want to go to them planets. It makes you want to travel around the universe. It wants to be Endless Ocean, forgetting that Endless Ocean strives for a full goal of fixing that ship over there. It wants to be Star Wars with its space combat, forgetting that's all Star Wars is. It's in the bloody title, so they had a better grip on things. It wants to be Don't Starve, with its very heavy focus on resource management and the fact that your suit is nothing more than a survival meter that is constantly ticking down, and if it hits 0 you die, while forgetting that Don't Starve had a level of customization to just how survival heavy you want it to go, and also forgetting that everyone is getting really sick and tired of babysitting survival bars. And while also trying to mimic everything, as you play through the game, it blatantly rips off other game assets. The handheld mining laser is clearly the matter manipulator from Starbound. And, oh, for God's sake, that's just fucking Wheatley! Or if not, it's at least a core from Portal. You're not even... As Diva would say...
Are you even trying?
And because it wants to be everything, it spreads itself too thin and becomes, well, nothing. Nothing worth mentioning, at least. And of course, it has that big sticking point of £45, $60, which for what the game offers is a rather big ask, especially for an indie company that no one has ever really heard of. Now, I'm not going to go into pricing, as that's a video unto itself, and it's true that AAA should charge less for some of their shit, and indie companies should not be afraid to ask for a little more. If a tried and true indie company like Team Meat or Way Forward were asking, and Eddie's like, hey, Legend of Bumbo is going to be like a full-on Paper Mario, you know, from the pictures we've seen, a full-on Paper Mario RPG with 8 worlds and 30 to 40 hours of play, can you know, pay £30, $40 for this one as it's a big full game? Or Way Forward doing the same, saying, hey, we're making a full 3-day Shantae game that's kind of like Banjo-Kazooie, so you run around a 3D environment doing stuff, and you have to transform into a monkey to climb up a wall and then a bird to glide over a gap. Maybe give us, again, $40 for a full game that's going to be about 30, 40 hours long rather than our normal 20. I would be all over that. But both of these indie companies have proved themselves time and again, and we would all certainly be more trusting on taking a risk on them when going for a full $40 game. This company, we know next to nothing about, and even then, you might have heard me pushing Edmund/Nicholas and Way Forward's games at $40. These guys want $60! And there is no way a $60, £45 experience here. And I think that's what really killed it. If it had released for $40 or even $30, it might have been just as bad, but it would have certainly received a lot less flack, a lot less backlash, and all the other things Jim Sterling mentioned at the beginning of this video. As you get what you pay for, and I think that $30, $40, £30, £40 would have been about right. So as it stands, I really can't recommend it at its current price point. And even with a drop, it would be very hard to recommend, as it's just really damn boring. I would be far more inclined to recommend to you Starbound for a third of the price. It's got everything that No Man's Sky has got, that being space exploration, resource management and such, and far more, like farming, getting better weapons, constantly upgrading every aspect of you and your ship and all of your miniature components, finding cool stuff like the bee costume, an actual real story, boss battles, and so much more. Or even Portal seems to took a call from there. Or, why not both? As Portal is £7, $10, and Starbound is £13, $20. So that's only $30, which is half of No Man's Sky. And you will get so much more enjoyment out of both of them and still have $30 spare on whatever you like, whether it be right now with something like the Stanley Parable, or next month with Shantae Half Genie Hero when that comes out. As for No Man's Sky, it might get a few Game of the Year awards at the end of the year from a few people, but unlike a game like Banjo-Kazooie or Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, No Man's Sky will not stand the test of time. It'll get a couple of awards at the end of the year, but I think by year's end it'll have just faded into obscurity, unlike Overwatch. Hey there everyone, this is now the extra bit at the end. I hope you enjoyed this review of No Man's Sky. I'm assuming a lot of people didn't. I mean, Jim Sterling's Jimquisition website got hacked and got taken down for giving No Man's Sky a 5 out of 5, so I don't know how people are going to react to this. Anyway, this is just a little bit at the end. I'm probably going to save the next clip after this to use all the time. As you may have noticed, if you're still looking on the left there, the crappy default Camtasia box is gone. The letters are finished. We've got this lovely shiny golden text here. Letters completely done, looking great. And next up, Malix is going to work on the gems, so they're not these crappy PNG cutouts. They're actually going to be proper arted gems. And this is a bit that's going to go at the end of probably all the reviews now, just because that is an artist, and you should credit everyone that you put in your videos. Obviously, I've been crediting Jim Sterling non-stop for his footage when, you know, reviewing this, and we've just talked about how his site has been taken down for giving No Man's Sky a 5 out of 10, which is kind of fair, really, but whatever. So, yeah, this is probably going to go at the end, but if you do indeed like this art style, if you like those letters there on the left, or in the future like these gems here on the left, and you would like something for your own channel, all of this art here was drawn by Malix, and I will leave a link to his commission page below, so if you have your own YouTube channel, you can get letters in the own stylings of your channel, or little miscellaneous things like these gems, or just art of your OC. So link to his commission page down below. Quick warning, it does have some not safe for work stuff on, so be careful when bruising his wares. But for now, hope you enjoyed the review. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you liked it, subscribe and all that jazz, and I'll see all of you in the next one.